What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Accounting Flow podcast brought to you by Financial Sense. This podcast is dedicated to taking a deep dive into accounting firm workflow and processes. Each episode, we will spend 20 minutes interviewing actual accounting firm owners just like you, uncovering specific processes that firm owners and operators encounter on a daily basis and discuss ways to improve them. Let's go. Right, on Accounting Flow today, we've got Mr. Mathew May. How we doing?
Doing great, man. Nice to see you.
It is nice to see you as well. So today we get the opportunity to chat a little bit about optimization of accounting firm workflows. What's that looking like moving forward as systems change, automations exist, and kind of go through a journey of where we're at today and what we believe tomorrow holds for the best practice in accounting firm workflow. And so, Mathew, excited to have you chat about this a bit. Before we jump into that, can you give me just the elevator pitch on who is Mathew May?
Who is Mathew May? Mathew May is a recovering auditor, almost 10 years recovered from Cherry Beckert and Ernst & Young. I was a partner at Cherry Beckert. And then the last 10 years have been working with really some great folks building a company called Acuity here in Atlanta, which is now a remote worldwide firm with about 150 employees, working with about 500 or 600 companies all around doing their, as you would say, CAS work, right? So, or somebody would say, I don't know. But then I use CAS differently than everybody else. Don't get me started on that. So we outsource their accounting department. How about that?
We outsource accounting departments, and we will aim to define what CAS is in 2024.
I think we're going to lose that battle because the AICPA is like heading down a path that we're just going to have to say outsourced accounting.
Yes, I think, yeah, gosh, we'll see what they decide on that front. Okay, so 10 years at Acuity. When you started, how many folks were there?
When I started, there was 10 folks. So, yep, that's crazy. And we were working with about 50 or 60 clients. So
Okay, so 10 people, and now you're over 100 with the global workforce. And
150 people. We
Jeez.
just finalized our Philippine sub. So we have a Philippine subsidiary working on moving all of our third-party relationships to a single relationship with us. And we also have that's 26 or 7 people right now. And then in St. Lucia, we also have 17 folks. So we use a partner company for that. So.
Okay, so different time zones, different nationalities, different backgrounds, people all over the place.
Different dialects, a little bit of fun, a little different culture here and there. It's awesome. So.
I love that so much. But when you think about workflow, communication, the necessity to work together as a team, you all have seen quite the iteration on that over the years. And it's so important for your globalized team to communicate well, to work together, to understand who's accomplishing what. Could you kind of give me the just high level overview of just like one client comes in, like how do you guys delegate tasks? How do you think about that today?
Yeah, I think we think about the world in kind of 3 buckets. We think of it in tax. We have a tax team, about a 10-person tax team that does business returns. We think of it in accounting, let's say, and then we think of it in finance. So we have a CFO team, about 10 people, tax team, about 10 people, and the rest of the people, about the rest of us, all work on the accounting side, from bookkeeping all the way to very sophisticated GAAP closes, right? So that core group is what I'll probably talk about most, because those other ones kind of stand on the periphery. So, we went through everybody else's journey with workflow tools. I think we're on like our 4th workflow tool. We worked with Teamwork. We worked with a crappy one way back when. We worked with Carbon. And then currently we're on a random one, which is not really a workflow tool. It's more of a process enablement tool called Process Street, but it really isn't built for accounting firms. But we've moved away from the checklist kind of world, and we've moved more towards facilitation. So like we have a great head of product. Her name's Patty Sharp. She built Catching Clouds, and which was an e-commerce specialty firm, is working with us now. And she's really helped us kind of crystallize what process should look like. So we have lots of really defined processes now, as you can imagine, but we have 96 products in our Salesforce, that the sales team sells, and each of those launches different workflows, and um, they're all in various degree of optimization right now. So
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned not thinking about it through the lens of like checklists and tasks. You think about it more in terms of how does a process flow throughout, origination or closing of a product sale down through how do we accomplish this with our team? Talk about that just a little bit because there are tasks that get accomplished
yeah.
through process. But how do you think about that?
So what we found with, if you do a checkbox like reconcile the bank statement, do whatever, do whatever, do whatever, right? Like what happens is they do their normal stuff and then they come back and check off the boxes
Mm,
like a good employee. That's a good employee. Um, like, but what we've trying to move through, and like my goal personally is to like eliminate to where nobody's checking a box unless it does something for them.
mm,
So that could be a team notification in a Slack channel that task is done. That could be uh, uh, some kind of zap that triggers something down the road. Like that could be a spreadsheet that gets created. It could be a update in Salesforce, like that the financials are delivered, things like that. So if you think about that, like what your task should be, we do that. The other thing we do in process street, it enables us, if we do have a check the box tax, we have a training in it, like a live training. Like it's not like reconcile bank statement might be the task, but then it might be a video on how you reconcile bank statements if you're using zero, right?
mm.
So you have that like as a refresher training there. Um, we have a little bit of that in there. So we have kind of like more of a kind of a hybrid, instead of a workflow tool. We have a hybrid training slash automation enabler going
Yeah.
on. So it's a little bit different way to think of workflow management. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I think natively accountants really like just the feedback of checking a box and accomplishing something on a to-do list. I think accountants by nature just kind of have that embedded in their ethos. But to your point, I think there are ancillary things that can and or should occur when that box is checked, if it's a part of a greater process, because inevitably when you do accomplish that one task there will be a sub task, sub event, sub something that needs to occur that you guys are starting to approach through automation and more of the process mapping process.
yeah.
When you think about the automation side of things, the or maybe more of the optimization side of what you're building on the process front, what opportunities do you think exist today in terms of ensuring the team is moving the same direction as you all continue to scale?
Well, I guess the last 6 months, I've spent a lot of my time trying to identify how we can be systematically proactive with our clients. So, what that started with was identifying, and we've kind of got it narrowed down to 5 or 6 kind of triggers to say, when this happens, we should be proactive in this manner, or this is
Mm,
a trigger to at least stop, pause, and do this.
yeah.
One of the challenges I think with this work that we do is, and when I used to do the work, I was the same way, is I became compliant and got in like when I was on a client, I was like, I was on a roll. Like I was in a roll, I was in my mode, I was going, but I wasn't stepping back and saying, how should I be proactive?
Hmm.
So I've kind of come to the thinking where it's not reasonable for the person doing the work to be proactive in all cases. So in those cases where they're not, like there's some stuff that's just intuitive, but there's some stuff
Mhm.
it's just like you need somebody else to come in and say, "Hey, these things are happening. Other people think this is something you need to think about, or they need to intervene, or just need to interrupt the pattern to get some proactivity involved." So
In
that's what
Interesting.
I'm working on. So
Yeah, interrupting the pattern. When you think about the work that we do, the redundancy in a lot of cases on a month-to-month basis, it is so easy to get into that rut of just checking that box and saying, "I accomplished this task. Let's move on to the next client, accomplish that task," and then rinse and repeat the next month. And so what you're talking about is systematically like programming proactive communication, proactive triggers to allow maybe ancillary team members to see what's happening in order to take action on behalf of a client.
Yeah, to at least start a discussion. So we've moved an accountability last year for client retention to a team member. We call the team lead. So that's like basically it's like a firm owner in most cases because they have
Mm,
about anywhere from, I guess the smallest team probably has a $600,000 book, and the largest team is running basically a $3.5 million book, which is most people's firms, right?
mm,
Somewhere in those. So each of those team leads are basically firm owners, if you really think about it. And but if you have 60 clients or one of them has 250 clients, like how do you systematically get them data? Because you get so much data today. How do you get them the triggers in the right places in the right forms um, to kind of work on what that looks like, right? So, what what's a meaningful interaction, and what's not just a interaction where you're like trying to raise somebody's price,
yeah.
right? When you intervene on a client just to raise prices, like so we experimented last quarter with people hitting $1 million in revenue target
Mm,
and sending them a little, little thing saying congratulations on 83.3K, right? That's a cool thing like you would do in
yeah.
your environment. Somebody hits 83.3, like you do the $1 million in ARR, like Lucite thing that you send that, not branded Acuity, something
Yeah.
that they have branded theirs, just sent to them. That was like, hey, congratulations on that. And that starts a conversation about other stuff too. Hey, you're
Yeah.
growing, like do whatever, but it's like starts with the right place. In
Mm,
our e-commerce practice, the best example we had was a systems change. So there was something happened at Amazon. I can't remember, something quirky or what's going on with how that was going to work with A2X. And she had sent this like huge thing out to all of our ecom team. I was like, you are drafting that and sending that to our clients. Like, we got your back. We're tracking this. You're doing that, right? So there was a couple of updates, things like from that perspective, and then we look at transaction volume triggers. We're looking at some non kind of objective triggers, subjective
mm,
triggers. We're asking our team for um, kind of like kind of a state of the union, like 1 to 5. Like, I'm really happy with this client. I hate this client. I think the
mm,
client hates us. I think they're about to fire us. Like, just some kind of subjective thing
yeah.
there. Um, we were we had been we had been doing that for a long time, and now like we have like a trigger. Like if it's like the crappy one, it goes over here, or if it's the great one, it goes over here. So you're like, oh, that's somebody you can use for a referral for the sales team.
Sure.
Oh, this shitty one, I need to intervene and see, like, just check in, what's wrong. um so that's some of the stuff we're looking at, and trying to figure out how you do that programmatically and systematically.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, and a few things that like really that I clue in on. One is that when you think about proactive communication, oftentimes as a firm owner, you're looking for those additional revenue opportunities, right? What are the additional services that I can provide? Oh, hey, there's a tax implication here. Maybe I can proactively pull them into our tax department, or there's capital raised over here. Here's a trigger. Maybe we can upsell them on CFO services. I tend to think about it in those terms, but what you're alluding to is customer success. Hey, you hit 1 million in revenue. Here's a gift. Like, here's something we thought about for you because of this massive accomplishment, which is amazing to think about how it could be revenue generation, it could be customer success, it can be client satisfaction, client heat map for internal purposes, supporting the sales team and their referrals, or proactive communication on what's happening in the market, like the ecom example of, hey, we see this occurring amongst a smaller group of clients, and now we can publish this for our other clients and make them feel really secure and confident that we've got their back. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many far-reaching impacts of what you're trying to accomplish here on the systematic proactivity of your processes.
yeah, I mean, the cool thing is, like, because we have 5 team leads that we just said this quarter we're going to try to be proactive. That was the guidance, right? So we had all these things start popping up, And they were like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" I was like, "Call people, talk to people, do whatever." And then they're like, "Nobody will talk to me." I was like, somebody was like, "Can I send him a gift?" Send him a gift. I don't care. Like, can. And then I saw that internal update on the ecom thing. Send it. Like, let's make that into a blog, and let's send that out from our thing. Like, let's send them out to our clients saying, "Don't worry about it. We were tracking this issue, and we're really close on it." Right. So it's this
Mm.
amalgamation of just like it took us saying, let's try to be proactive to be proactive. Like you have to be
Yeah.
intentional about it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like we just all get busy.
Yeah, and what's amazing to me is that's all part of firm workflow, and traditionally people think about firm workflow as like reconcile the bank, reconcile the balance sheet, all these task-oriented items. But now, like we're taking this workflow conversation into how is it impacting every function department within the business so we can collectively be successful, and that's where I think there really is a long tail to optimizing accounting firm workflows, in looking outside of what is the month to month task that needs to be accomplished. So I think you're onto something there. What what are you looking forward to in 24, kind of over the next number of months, in terms of how do we expand on what you've done from a proactive standpoint? And do you have specific goals as it relates to that?
I do have some specific goals on it, but I'll be continue to work on those things. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to segment our customer base into three segments. So we're going to say we think there's a part of our customer base that doesn't care about their financials, doesn't read our emails.
Mm,
They just want financials to do tax returns. So we'll call them the compliance group. Then we have these people all the way on the other side that have external pressures. So they have to have GAAP financial statements. So they need like this full GAAP financial statement. They have external users. So we'll call those the externals, right? And then we have this middle group that are using their financials on a day-to-day basis, and they need it to be kind of like modified from compliance. So they're internal folks. So internal use folks have like a set of things that they need done, right? So our after we get the first quarter, we're going to get all of our 600 clients into each of those buckets, and
mm,
then we're going to start working on what proactivity looks like within each of those buckets. Because in a compliance setting, it just might be getting them an estimated tax number in quarterly
sure.
basis, right? That's all they want from a proactive basis, and maybe some updates on systems and software and stuff like that. The Gap people, we're going to work on what that kind of full product looks like. Like, what does that look like at the,
Yeah,
what does full send look like for them, right? For our SaaS clients, right? What does
sure.
full send feel like? I love your terms with that. Um, so, like, how does that get defined? And then what's proactivity look like under that lens, right? So, in each of those segments, like thinking about that last quarter, we kind of came up with those segments. We There's 100 ways you could group clients, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you just have to put, and those are the ones that we felt had different needs.
And then you go 2, 3 layers deeper and overlay industry, you overlay size and stage, you overlay all these different riders that impact what the outcome
Yeah.
of each bucket they're in.
So we're just doing the two layers. We're just doing the stage, those three stages, and then
Mm,
industry.
mm,
So those are the two layers because our team lead is an industry specialist in three of the five cases.
yeah. And I
So
could almost see a specialist or a team lead, almost liaison within those stages, because the requirements, complexities that come with a gap financial required client is very different than that. That would be compliance only. And so, do you envision a place where you have kind of these stage liaisons for each industry team lead?
I think as we grow, I think a team lead has to have. I think they will be supported by an industry leader, like at scale, right?
Mm,
So when ecom has to break into two team leads, like they will need an industry leader
yeah.
that can track the industry and stuff like that. And we do have kind of accounting expertise. The ex audit partner in me comes out when people need the high gap stuff, right? So like we do have some. You One thing that we do differently than other firms is that if you're on a team, you're not solo on that team. Like, you can still have clients on other teams and still help
Oh,
other teams, and, like, you have to do that to still have a firm at the
mm,
top at the
yeah,
top level, or each team would function like a separate firm, and you'd stop losing some of the economies of scale of how you work in this similar enough to where people could use people from other teams. Because ecom's like in a dip, right now. So ecom's in a dip. So they like I want those people to have jobs. So like
sure.
they need to be able to support other teams.
Yeah,
Um, Crypto goes through waves, right? So like that team has to flex like nobody's business, right?
yeah.
So
And there's some innate crossover on an industry by industry basis and utilizing similar skill sets. Some are more applicable than others. I've always thought that anybody that can do e-com, CPG could probably do just about anything in the SaaS tech world. And so it's interesting that you have those like kind of swing players as I think about like a football team. You got the Falcons starting lineup and they can sub in for a Patriots. Oh, I shouldn't use the Patriots. It's a bad example. Use a Los Angeles Rams, teammate, if they need to.
yeah. Well, I mean, we've been around 20 years now too. So we have
Yeah.
repeat entrepreneurs that start
Mhm.
having relationships with the team leads, and the team
Sure,
leads goal is to like be a firm owner, like the person that had like maybe they're running a family office that has a real estate entity plus a company
sure.
that they're running plus another family office kind of thing, you know? So like you don't want to split them up. Like you
Yeah,
got to be flexible enough to where you do stuff that makes sense for the clients still.
sure.
So team leads have to be a little bit well-rounded.
When you think about the team leads, the workflow, the processes that you've developed, do you look at all that through the lens of, um, client satisfaction, client experience, or do you look at it through the lens of, what's gonna benefit our employees and what benefits our employees then will benefit our clients? Like, how do you view that?
Um, You asked several questions there at the same time. So, like, specifically for the team lead role, if they have a North Star metric of reducing customer churn, right?
Mhm.
That means they have to guarantee proactivity, quality, like all the things you're supposed to do for the client. You have to also downsell at the right time if people are
Sure,
going through things. Like, it's not just upsell or downsell. You have to have right services, right time. But you need these triggers to be able to do that. So North Star metric to me for team lead is customer churn.
hmm,
The number one driver of customer churn in our firm is employees leaving. So in
sure,
order to have stability with customer churn, it's like Maslow's hierarchy. You have to
yeah,
have happy employees first. Happy, well-trained people that fit the culture is like at the base of the pyramid of Maslow's
yeah,
hierarchy here of needs. So we can create that. It's like
yeah.
first employees happy, then client, then customers happy.
Yeah,
So
I like that a lot because I think there's a lot of fodder out in the accounting space of let's do everything through the lens of client experience. And what you're saying is, we need to really hone in on the employee experience first because you're not going to have one without the other.
yeah, I mean during COVID, when people were just reassessing their lives and we had the highest employee churn we've ever had, we had the highest customer churn we've ever had.
Hmm,
It was like unreal how much customer
yeah,
churn we had. But like if you're in this is maybe a little bit unique to us. Most of our clients have a one-to-one relationship with somebody here, right?
hmm,
So if an employee leaves, it's magnified.
sure,
On other people that focus on upmarket, mid-market kind of stuff that are team related, like a single employee leaving is not that big of a deal.
yeah,
But in our case, it is like usually the point person,
yeah. Which that having that one to one relationship can often be a great client experience factor and the reason why they may choose to work with Acuity is hey, I'm going to have a relationship with somebody there or maybe I have a pre-existing relationship there. And so yeah, that is challenging. So we've walked through how you view process, how you view workflow. We've walked through how you think about proactivity, how you're slicing and dicing your client base in order to improve internal operations and workflows and processes for your team. A little bit about how that team operates. When we think about further optimization, I mean, I think a lot of people are listening are like, wow, they've got it dialed in. Like, what more can they do? Because most firms are pretty small and haven't seen the level of scale that you guys are at. And so when you think about further optimization, like what's that next layer to really peel back for you guys once you have these things like really up and humming?
Um, I think what I'd like to do is to really take each niche and to allow it enough flexibility to blow it out in its
Mhm.
needs. If you think of like where you and I came from, the SaaS world, like we got some really specific needs.
Yeah.
Like you got some Carta needs, you got some RevRec needs, you got some pretty powerful needs. So I like getting back to what I love, which is kind of working with the clients that I love, which is
Hmm.
tech clients for me.
Yeah.
So I want to create that for everybody. If somebody's passionate about at Acuity about family office, if somebody's passionate about marketing service firms, whoever's passionate about construction, real estate, like we've built the construct now for them to go.
Hmm.
Like, so that's my like I feel like we're starting to uncover a bunch of stuff and that comes with, you know, hitting that eight-figure revenue mark and having a
Sure.
team where like 25 people are working on the business all the time. You know, like it's like we have 25 people that work on the business, not in the business,
Sure.
right? So like having that team that continues to dedicate time to that just creates these opportunities. So I'd love to see a new vertical come out
Yeah.
next year or existing vertical like my dream is for like SaaS to just be buttoned down next year,
Yeah.
like to where everybody's like, oh yeah, in Atlanta people know us for SaaS, but I want
Sure.
nationwide like people to be like, oh, these are the SaaS guys, right?
Hmm.
So
So you've scaled up to the degree that you all have scaled up now only to niche back down and to hyper focus.
um well, the way the world is going, like if you're going to add value, you have to be hyper focused.
Yeah.
Like I've always added more value to SaaS clients than non-SaaS clients.
Yeah. Sure.
People in fundraise mode, like you just see it. Like you see the angel investments, you see the VC investments, you see
Hmm.
you get pet peeved because people name change from Series A to Series Seed, like you know, like and stuff like that because you're old like me. Like like you have opinions about stuff, right? Because you have had the experiences and you've been through some of the cycles.
Hmm.
So I think the way to add the most value and grow the fastest is narrowing your focus.
Yeah. I like that.
We've had that happen to us over the last decade. Every time we've narrowed our focus, we've grown faster.
I was going to ask for any parting thoughts of wisdom for a young firm runner out there that may be listening to this. But I think you just hit it on the head. If you want to grow fastest, you got to focus down and niche down on those things that you can really have impact on.
Yeah, I mean, the best advice I have is advice I got from a business coach. So he was like, "What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for?" Like because I was at Cherry Beckert at the time, and I was using the guy. His name's Andrew Dietz, great guy, and 10 of us had been through his coaching thing, and some people in the group were like, they didn't want to focus because they didn't want to miss out on opportunities.
Yeah.
And his challenge to me was like, what if you're successful? So you go sell a hospital accounting services or an audit at the time, and like then you go have to go audit the freaking hospital. I was like, because hospital was my like that's my like runaway HIPAA like kind
Sure.
of thing for when I was doing audits. So I was like, I just want to. That's how the my Twitter handle came about that year. It's like I'm going to be the tech CPA. I'm just going to work with tech firms. I'm just going to do that. And so niche because what if you're successful, guys?
Because
Like,
of the
what if you're successful? Like, if you go the other way and don't niche and you're successful, you have to serve all those people. Like, it's crazy, you know?
You bring up good points. You bring up very good points.
Well,
So
you make enough mistake over the decade. You like you learn some stuff. So
yeah, and there aren't as many maybe Twitter handles that still exist or names that you could pick up. But if you're listening out there, secure your Twitter handle,
yeah.
figure out the niche, and then go back and revisit all these processes and workflows that can really help stabilize the operations.
Yeah, if you're
Uh,
just making people check boxes, I'm totally against that. Make it
yeah,
so it like helps somebody know to start something or helps
yeah,
notify a team of a status. Something that's going to be useful. If they're checking a box and nobody's using it behind them, why are you doing it?
I like it. It's
So,
perfect. Well, I'm super thankful that you were able to spend some time talking about workflow today. If people want to get a hold of you, A, do you want them to? And B, where would they find you?
oh, that's fine. People can get a hold of me if they want. I don't know why you would want, but the Tech CPA on Twitter or LinkedIn are the two easiest ways to find me. All kind. We're around on the ecosystem too. If you're an accounting firm owner, I'm in the Future Firm Accelerate ecosystem, so you can reach out on me there. That's the best way if somebody's a firm owner, probably. And then if you're not, then LinkedIn or Twitter. But that's a hit or miss. You just have to make sure you're specific. Like, hey, Roman said I should talk to you, or something like that. Or like, I love the Financial Sense guys. The Financial Sense guys work next to us in Atlanta, or one of them is
Yeah.
in the same co-working space as us. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. Yeah. That was a recent change.
Yeah, so that's the Atlanta move there. So
Very good. Well, thanks for joining today. We will wrap here. And yeah, thanks for joining Accounting Flow.
thanks, man.
For listening in today. If you enjoyed this pod, don't forget to share and write a review. This is going to help other firm owners just like you find our podcast and get insights into how to grow their firm. Stay tuned.